It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. This morning, I came up with a pretty interesting idea. So yesterday, we went through, and I told you about the cut sheet that I put together for this show and the John Phillips Show every single day. And I was thinking about, okay, what's an easy way for me to get this out into a place where everyone can see it? Because I curate a lot of videos from all of our local news sources, and we don't get to play all of them. So at like 6 a.m., I was like, well, why don't I just start a Substack? Because who starts a website in 2026? So I have started a new Substack. It is you can subscribe to it right now. It's called randywangradio.substack.com. And every single day I am posting something that I am calling the California Report. And the California Report is all of the videos that I have curated from our local news in Southern California, the Bay Area, Sacramento, San Diego, and the Central Valley, as well as anything else that is relevant that you need to know about every single day. So I am trying to get this posted every day right before noon, and it will have all the stuff that we talk about throughout the day here on KABC. And I'll be starting off the News Blitz every day with the California Report. So let's start with the California Report. Starting in Southern California, this is an example of why you have to read the whole story before you react to it. You have to watch a whole story before you react to it. Because when you see the headline, Waymo car hits child near Santa Monica Elementary School, you might have an initial reaction. But I'm here to tell you that if you watch that story and you listen to that story, you'll hear what really happened, which was a lot of people saying, wow, if that was a human instead of a Waymo, it would have been way worse. Because what happened here was a 10-year-old jumped out in the middle of the street thinking that, oh, the Waymo's going to stop, like testing it to see how good the technology is. Look, kids are dumb. Kids are really dumb. You were a dumb kid once. I was a dumb kid once. But apparently the Waymo did detect that the kid did that, and it slowed itself down from 17 miles an hour to 6 miles an hour. So while, yes, the car hit the child wasn't hurt. And for the most part, I think the story makes Waymo look good. Now, I'm a Waymo fan. I know there's a lot of Waymo haters and a lot of Waymo lovers out there, but I think ultimately this technology is going to be a game changer. And I said this earlier today. If it was when they finally expand this to the San Fernando Valley, if I'm still living in this boring ass neighborhood, I would love to, if it was cost effective, or if, I don't know, they want to sponsor us, I would, instead of driving, take a Waymo to work every day. I could sit in the back. I could work on my laptop. I could get things done. It's a little bit of a difference. Of course, you know, the easiest thing would just be to work from home all day someday. Now, the mayor's race is starting to form. We are seeing a point where the filing deadline for a lot of these local races is coming up very soon. And while we think the card is set, it might not be. Because we know that Karen Bass is running again for mayor of Los Angeles. She is picking up all kinds of endorsements this week from members of the city council who she probably did favors for.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
Imelda endorsed her because Karen Bass put her on the Metro board. I don't know what Bob Blumenfeld's deal is, but there's a lot of people all falling in line, despite the fact that polling shows that Karen Bass is very unpopular in the city of Los Angeles.
Oh, you're so optimistic.
But here's what's interesting. There's a member of the LA County Board of Supervisors who all of a sudden is getting very loud and very animated on social media and even is going on the local news to put Karen Bass on blast. And that is Lindsay Horvath.
Quite frankly,
Lindsay Horvath, who joined the Board of Supervisors in 2022, who's supposed to be up for re-election for that seat, there has been a rumor for quite some time that she moved into the city of Los Angeles so she could run for LA mayor. And she went on CBS LA to go after Karen Bass's, she calls them mistruths, but we know what they are, about homeless funding and about that LAFD after action report. And even though it's from a place of she's trying to get attention because she might run for mayor, I'm glad somebody is out there saying that no, we are not just all behind Karen Bass. There have been a lot of failures, homeless funding being one of them, wildfire management, and the whole after action report debacle is another huge one. And while Spencer Pratt being in this race is very exciting, we'll see what his actual policies are. We're going to try to get him on the radio station in the next couple of weeks. Austin Butner's campaign, is that really happening? I do like that Assad al-Najjar, but his name ID is very low in a place where already voter turnout and voter participation is very low. Is it still very likely that Karen Bass is going to be the mayor again? Yes, unfortunately. But if Lindsay Horvath gets in that race, it's going to be ugly because she doesn't care anymore. The knives are out, and it's not like the county is blameless in homelessness. It's not like the county is blameless in the wildfire response, but I'll take it wherever I can get it. Somebody going after Karen Bass for her obvious failures. Project Inside Safe is a massive failure. It is one of the reasons that we are in such huge budget deficits. The amount of money we're paying to keep people indefinitely in motels is nonsensical. There's no real plan as to what to do with them. So they're all just kind of sitting in inertia. A lot of them have left the program, went back to the streets, and we're paying, the last estimate is about $17,000 per person, per motel room, per month. Not per year, per month. And it's completely insane. So Lindsay Horvath went on CBS LA to diss the mayor. We might play that sound later. The LAPD has come out with new crime stats for 2025. Marla Tejas did a report on this on Fox 11. Hi, Marla. And they reported that crime is down. There's one specific statistic that they say crime is down that is very exciting. Homicides are down 19% to the lowest levels they've seen in the 60s, which is good. That either means that, the gang intervention units are working, even though they are woefully understaffed and underfunded. Or it means that doctors are getting really, really, really good at sewing up bullet wounds. But regardless, I'll take the good number wherever I can get it. But when it comes to the other crimes, some are up, some are down. It's kind of a mixed bag. And you have to remember this. All crime, no matter how small, no matter how much of a pain in the ass it feels like, needs to be reported. If crime is not reported, then it doesn't go into the statistics, and then you have the mayor doing a victory lap that crime is down. But here's what's interesting about any kind of narrative right now about crime being down is that LAPD is in a staffing crisis where we are not even recruiting enough people to deal with attrition. So the numbers are going further down and further down. And what happens when you have crime going down and staffing going down is you get people like Hugo Soto Martinez and the DSA to say, well, see, we don't need this many police officers. Let's cut their budget. Now, another piece that Fox 11 did that I found interesting is, and maybe we'll get to this one today, and again, you can read, you can see all these stories. You can click on the links to the YouTube videos and share them with your friends and family by going to the California Report, which is on my new Substack, randywangradio.substack.com. But in Canyon Country, in the Santa Clarita Valley where I grew up, there is a townhome community where a bunch of residents are really upset because after a few years of rains, there's been a whole bunch of mold growing in their townhomes, and the landlord's not doing anything about it. To which I'm just curious, why don't you move? I mean, yes, they should do something about it, and I think they're supposed to do something about it, but, no one's saying you have to live there. It's like, and it's not like these are cheap townhomes. They're like $3,000. And $3,000 to live in Canyon Country? Nothing wrong with Canyon Country, but it's far from everything. It's a lot of freeways. You go way up that 14. Now, what I consider to be the most exciting story of the day comes from ABC 7 in the Bay Area and Dan Noyes. If you don't know Dan Noyes, he's the reporter up in the Bay Area who breaks almost all the Shangtao stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he did an investigation with their I-team, finding out that there are so-called ghost students stealing millions of dollars in financial aid from California community colleges. What's a ghost student? It's people overseas using AI bots and stolen Social Security numbers to apply to go to California community colleges and to apply for financial aid, and they're getting it. They've defrauded the state to millions of dollars. They've defrauded the federal government to even more millions of dollars. And according to the latest numbers, 30% of all applicants to California community colleges are fraudulent. So we have got to massively rethink how we are doing this, because it shouldn't be this difficult to verify if it is a real kid that wants to go to community college or if it is a fraudster overseas who's not even a real human being. By the way, what they do, and this is great, they go ahead and they apply for mostly only online classes. And then the AI bot sometimes takes the classes so they think there's a real student going for a real junior degree. It's fascinating. Now, another story that I liked out of ABC 7 in the Bay Area, and this shows that even when you think the state and the city and the county will never listen to you, listen to what happened up in Marin County. Caltrans back in September decided that they wanted to change the carpool hours for the 101 freeway in Marin County, going out of Roanoke Park. And it was driving people crazy because nobody was using the carpool lane. Traffic was becoming awful. And one woman could not take it anymore. So did she scream about it? Probably. But she also collected over 8,000 signatures and made a ruckus. It got on the news. It got the attention of her local council members, and that got the attention of Caltrans. And this week, Caltrans capitulated, and they reversed the policy, and they're changing the carpool lane hours back. So it can happen. People can organize. People can get things done. Look what's going on in San Diego right now, where the locals have had enough, and they are finally saying enough is enough with all the tax and fee hikes. And now you've got the city council running scared. Hey, we talked about Waymo hitting a kid, although it wasn't really their fault. Here's another Waymo story. Waymo is now available to and from SFO, the San Francisco airport that is not in San Francisco. That is very exciting. They already did this in San Jose. It's available at that airport. It's been available at Phoenix Sky Harbor for many years. I don't know if this is coming to LAX anytime soon. That airport is a nightmare to navigate already. Maybe when the people mover's finally done, things will change, but it is so awful. I've been flying in and out of LAX a lot because, well, two reasons. One, I'm still pissed off at Southwest for devaluing their points, taking away free bags and everything else. So the flight that I used to take to get to New Mexico was Burbank to Albuquerque. Then you'd have to either have, if I'm lucky enough, my father-in-law picks us up, we get to Santa Fe, or we have to do a car service or a shuttle. But it's like, it's an hour and 20 minutes. But starting in October of this year, America now has a flight that is LAX to Santa Fe Airport, which is 20 minutes from the house that we stay in up there. It's great. Of course, there are some caveats. You have to go to LAX, and you don't just have to go to LAX. You have to go to that regional terminal. You ever get a Gate 52 ticket at LAX where you go to Terminal 4, you check in, you get through security, and then it says, here, now you have to walk this way for about a half a mile, get on a bus, sit on a bus for 5 minutes, and then end up at this tiny little terminal for all the little American Eagle planes. But that being said, did you know that tiny little regional terminal has an Admirals Club? And it's pretty damn great. Their Bloody Marias are wonderful. Anyway, I don't think Waymo's coming to LAX anytime soon because every time I land at LAX, just trying to get an Uber to pick you up, and I always go Lyft Black because I want to get picked up the curb because I'm not walking 2 miles to the LA exit lot, but it's a nightmare. SFO, a little more organized. I think they can get it done. It's already getting done in San Jose. Now, public transit is what they want everyone to get on, but in Los Angeles, public transit is neither convenient nor safe. In the Bay Area, it is convenient for a lot of places. BART is pretty well built out, and because it's not that big of a region size-wise, a lot of people can use it. They're reporting a decrease in crime, which you could say, oh, that's just them juking the stats, or you could look at ridership is up, which is great. And not only that, you have people saying anecdotally, the trains look cleaner. I see police officers. But one thing that they did that I don't understand why Metro is dragging their feet on is they put in locking fare gates at every single one of their 50 stations. Everyone who gets into that train, they know exactly who they are. Nobody's getting on that train that shouldn't be getting on that train. We've done tap to exit at like 3 or 4 Metro stations. Why aren't we doing that across the board? And they've got to, maybe this will change when they finally get their own police force and they can staff up, but I don't know how they're going to do that when the hiring challenges already exist with LAPD and the Sheriff's Department. But Metro's going to stand up their own police force, but BART reporting a sizable decrease in crime, and good for them because the Super Bowl's coming, and that one's going to get a lot of attention. All right. In Sacramento news, I think this is great. As much as we are overregulated and we are overtaxed and businesses are struggling in California, this is a proposed bill that I hope becomes a law. It comes from Rick Chavez Burr, the assemblyman from Hollywood. A proposed law would require human customer service instead of AI phone trees. Companies would have 5 minutes to connect you with a human and make it easy to connect you with a human. And as somebody that has sat on customer service many, many times as you have, I love that. We told you a while back that Gavin Newsom has made this pitch to all of the state employee unions that you got to come back into the office. You have to do it. And the union said 2 years ago, nah. Then last year, Gavin said, you got to come back to the office. And the union said, nah. Well, I think we're finally giving up on that idea. And we're actually going to lease out that space, these empty buildings, to Meta, who is going to put $50 million towards a state capitol mall makeover, which is great. I don't care if the state employees go in person or not. Is the state running any better or worse than it was when they were working in person? It's about the same. So let them work from home. I advocate any job that can be made work from home, work from home. I think city employees, state employees. I think a lot of these offices we could be converting, we could be leasing, we could be selling. We could eliminate a whole lot of traffic. If you're just a pencil pusher at the state government, why do you need to be there in person? I don't have a problem with that. But of course, as you know, I'm a very selfish advocate of working from home, because that's my dream. And the city of Folsom reported a financial turnaround after cuts and layoffs. Most cities, when they're running out of money, they're like, well, how can we tax our citizens more? In Folsom, they said, all right, let's cut. I didn't like what they cut, which included browning out a fire station, but they did balance their budget. In San Diego news, La Mesa has approved a new sidewalk dining policy, which means that the little patio seating that was made very popular during COVID can stay. Of course, now you have to have a permit, but hopefully it's an easy process because that's a smaller town. And of course, when it comes to the governor's race, Matt Mahan announced he's running for governor. He sat down with Alex Michelson last night, so I have that video up on the California Report, and we played that on the John Phillips Show. You want to know what's in the crime blotter today? Some guy got attacked by a bunch of women outside of the Abbey in West Hollywood when he was crossing the street, apparently because they said, I think I can kick his ass. And how about this? A former executive at Cap Radio, the public radio station in Sacramento, has been charged with embezzlement. There you go. That's the California Report. Everything that I saw today that I thought was interesting. You want to check this out? You want to share these stories? You want to watch the videos? Go to randywangradio.substack.com. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go to Dave in Calabasas. Dave, hello.
Randy, I want to talk to you about Spencer Pratt and ask you how you think he has a legitimate chance of winning, because he's so, forget about his policies, let's assume he doesn't know nothing about running for mayor. But he's so popular and so many people like him, and I could even see Donald Trump getting behind him and supporting him. What do you think? Let's just say Lindsay, if she runs, maybe Lindsay and Karen split votes and Spencer wins. What do you think?
It could definitely at least put this thing past June and go into November. And the more we learn about Karen Bass, the worse it's sounding. I'll give you some more of my thoughts on the other side of the break. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com. Search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to my Substack where I am posting the California Report every single day before noon. If you subscribe, it's free, by the way. It'll go in your email. What's the California Report? It is my curated list of all the local stories up and down the state of California that you need every day. That way, you'll be informed about what's going on locally that matters to you instead of doom scrolling on social media about what's going on nationally that does not affect you on a day-to-day basis. randywangradio.substack.com. Subscribe. It'll make me happy. So, let me pick up on what we talked about right before the break, where the caller asked, does Spencer Pratt have a chance? Spencer Pratt has name ID. He's got a lot of social media followers. He's going on this book tour right now, so he's getting his face on a lot of national media. He's going to need to do a lot more local media to get his face out there, and platform matters. We know how he feels about the fire, and yes, he has a legitimate reason to run. The city was complicit in his house burning down. And in fact, when I saw his interview on Entertainment Tonight that was on my list on Monday, he revealed that he can't even rebuild. The city would make it because of the way building codes have changed and permits, what have you. He would have to spend another $1.2 million to even get back what he had. And he was uninsured because he got dropped by his insurance company. So the guy really did lose everything. That is a compelling story. He's got a real reason to run. But the fires are not the only issue in LA. We need to see how he comes down on things like LAPD staffing, how he comes down on things like the homelessness crisis or the crisis of wasting money on trying to solve homelessness. The city is in a massive budget deficit. What does he think about that? So we'll see what happens. I will say, if Lindsay Horvath gets in this race, it could make it interesting for one very important reason. Right now, Karen Bass is likely to win with more than 50% support in June. And if you get more than 50% support in June, there is no November runoff. But if Lindsay Horvath keeps coming at Karen Bass the way she's coming at, and she gets in the race, and that vote gets split just a little, and there's a lot of candidates, according to Scott, who just emailed us, there's 26 candidates, but most of them are people you've never heard of. But let's say that, she siphons 20% off of Bass, and Spencer Pratt siphons 20% off of Bass. You could have a situation where Karen Bass gets less than 49% of the vote. And if she gets less than 49% of the vote, her and the second place finisher are going into the runoff. And that's 6 more months of Karen Bass failures that we're going to see. The difference between Karen Bass 2022 and Karen Bass 2026 is now Karen Bass is a known entity. Her popularity is very low. And I think this is why Lindsay Horvath is thinking about running, because she sees an opening, and it's a much bigger, it's a much more important job. Instead of being one of 5, she's the one. I don't know why she would want that job. I think it pays less than what she's making at the Board of Supervisors, but it's more about power. Maybe it's about fame. Now, is Lindsay Horvath going to be any better than Karen Bass? Probably not. Lindsay Horvath has made some massive errors at the LA County Board of Supervisors, including that whole mess with Measure G, which was this ballot initiative that people voted on, which was supposed to expand the Board of Supervisors to 9 and make an elected position to the CEO, which was an appointed position. And why is that important? Because apparently the current CEO, Phasia Davenport, threatened to sue this county of Los Angeles over that measure because she was going to be out of a job. And they settled for $2 million. So there's a lot of failures. And the failures of homelessness are on both parts. The county is as culpable as the city. The cities are just a little more apparent with Inside Safe, which, by the way, the crooked contractor that was arrested last week, that guy was part of Karen Bass's Inside Safe. You know, the guy who was sending his kids to private school, bought a house in Greece, got the Range Rover, got the expensive house in Brentwood. Yeah, that guy. He was getting paid by Karen Bass's Inside Safe to feed the homeless in a hotel, and he was giving them microwave ramen. So why don't we go ahead and hear what Lindsay Horvath has to say? Here was her putting Karen Bass on blast this morning on CBS LA.
LA County and city leaders are publicly clashing over homelessness funding and accountability, with new questions also being raised about fire response and rebuilding.
A key figure in all of this is Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, who is joining us live this morning to discuss it all. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Supervisor.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with this. You accused Mayor
Lindsay, you make $300,000. Get a better microphone or get a better laptop.
Thank you for having me.
Even just a straight up MacBook Pro with no additional microphone sounds better than that.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with this. You accused Mayor Karen Bass of misinformation over homelessness funding. Tell us what you feel the mayor got wrong, and why did the county pull money from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority?
Well, we pulled the money that taxpayers have invested in the system because they want accountability that LAHSA has never delivered. And that's really where the mayor, I think, falls short in telling the truth about what's been going on.
She falls short in telling the truth is a really long way to say lied.
We have sat at the table at the LAHSA Commission seeing for ourselves that they cannot deliver the transparency that taxpayers have been calling for.
And this is true. We have missing millions of dollars. Nobody know where it went. LAHSA says we don't know where it went. And we know there's a whole lot of grift going on, and there's a whole lot of nonprofits doing favors for other nonprofits. Karen Bass's appointed head of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority was Valicia Adams Kellum. Excuse me.
Doctor.
Valicia Adams Kellum, who came from the St. Joseph Center, another crooked nonprofit that Mike Bonin gave a lot of money to. Well, she got caught writing a check to her husband's nonprofit out of LAHSA's coffers, and she had to resign in shame. Yeah, Karen Bass is vulnerable. If Horvath and Pratt get in there, could be interesting. But again, we got to find out what Pratt thinks about a whole lot of other things.
And this whole notion that by reclaiming our dollars, putting them into the county, establishing a department with the proper oversight.
As much as I hate to use cliches, that is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Oh, we're going to take all this money that was in the county and city agency, and we're just going to put it in the county agency, but it's going to be pretty much the same ideology and the same people running everything. Now it's all going to be great. Oh, and we doubled the sales tax, and this is true. People voted yes on Measure A, partially because of the workaround with Prop 13, because it was a citizens' initiative that doubled the sales tax and made it permanent. They did not need 67% support. But here's the thing. Even though they're now bringing in $1 billion a year, the department said, we're already broke. On day one, they said, we're out of money. And where's it all going? How, again, the most important thing that you can say when it comes to where's all this money going is you look at the reports that were done during the homeless count last week. Why does Skid Row look the exact same as it did 10 years ago? That's the most visible place for homelessness. What have you done for any of these people? It still looks like a nightmare.
And focusing on the programs that actually work, defunding the things that don't work. That's what our taxpayers want to see. That's what the residents of LA County deserve. And pretending like continuing to invest in the status quo, that somehow we're going to get different results, I think is just delusional.
You're young enough, Lindsay. I thought you might go Delulu, but you said delusional.
I think it's just delusional.
I think she's running. There's no reason to do this. There's no reason to be going after Karen Bass, and she's done it passive-aggressively before, but now she's going aggressively. Before this interview, she was blasting Karen Bass by name on Twitter, calling her out for saying that, the county's defunding us.
LAHSA has been central to the city's homelessness strategy for years. So if the county says it cannot account for the money, two questions for you. First of all, like you said, a lot of people want to know what happened to the money. Will there be an investigation and find out who is responsible for this? And secondly, what does that mean for services on the ground right now?
What services? The ramen noodles?
So the county conducted an audit of LAHSA. We've conducted several audits. The most recent was the reason why Supervisor Barger and I authored a motion to create the new department inside the county, so we have the proper oversight and not only fiscal protocols and best practices that need to be in place, but really focusing and making the cornerstone of our department a program that has the greatest record of success, getting people off the streets and into housing permanently, once and for all. That's what
does permanent housing mean? Because it actually means subsidized housing, but how long are people supposed to be wards of the state? Now, if they're so severely mentally ill that we have to take care of them forever, shouldn't a hospital be a better setting? You know, can't do that. Although, didn't Sun Sheng finally sell the hospital and they're going to do something about that, the one that he owned? Regardless. But if it's that they've got an addiction, shouldn't we be treating that addiction so they can turn their life around and become a productive member of society? Like has happened for people that went through the Union Rescue Mission in Southern California or Salvation Army in Northern California. But how permanent is permanent supportive housing? Because when you look at the Measure A numbers themselves, it says that we are like serving 150,000 people a year with services, whatever that means.
That's what people want to see their dollars being invested in. So yes, we've conducted audits. We have seen that the protocols aren't there in LAHSA. That's why we're standing up a new department with those best practices in mind. We've also created...
And now she wants to jump ship, so none of the failures of that department will be on her. They'll just be on Barger, because she's going to go run for mayor, probably.
A centralized response center where we've been bringing council members from Los Angeles over to see exactly how we're changing the system and inviting them in to work with us. So there are many council members, both in the city of Los Angeles and many other cities, who want to work with us because they know that the status quo doesn't work.
Unless you're Nithya, then you've created the status quo.
And they want to make sure that their dollars are being invested in a different kind of response on the streets.
By the way, since we're so close to the filing deadline, I know that Tanya Airy is running against Lindsay Horvath for Supervisorial District 3. She might be running unopposed.
What this means going forward is that the county will be responsible for all of the service provision and making sure that the contractors actually deliver the results from services. But we still need our city partners to deliver housing solutions if we're going to get people off the streets.
We still don't know where any of that money is, and I don't know if we're going to know anytime soon, although the Assaili investigations are getting a little more interesting every single time. When we come back, we'll hear what Lindsay Horvath has to say as she puts Karen Bass on blast about the fire response, specifically the doctored after-action report to make the mayor not look so bad. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's hear what Lindsay Horvath has to say about Karen Bass's phony baloney after action report on the fires.
Absolutely. We do not have Mayor Bass on this morning, so I should say she has responded, of course, to the investigations and fraud, saying that she has a zero tolerance policy for fraud, but we welcome more comment for her at a later time. We do want to turn now to another crisis LA's been facing, the LA wildfires. You have called for an independent review of the city's fire response, which, of course, has been a huge issue after that official action report, you say, lost all credibility because we've heard that it was watered down. Tell us the issues there and how you think this can be fixed, because a lot of fire victims, of course, just find this unacceptable.
Karen Bass is vulnerable, people.
It is unacceptable. The county led our own after-action response report, not only on communications, but on our response over...
You mean like the screwed up warning system? Anyone get fired over that? No? You're not blameless, Lindsay.
Overall, to identify where we fell short. We asked the city to participate with us. They refused. And now we know why. They have absolutely botched the response in terms of keeping honesty with their residents. And that's what Angelenos deserve. They deserve the truth. They deserve to know what actually happened, so they know not only what happened, but also what we're doing differently to protect them going forward. Why should they trust us if we aren't being honest with them about the things that we're doing differently to keep them safe?
You know, she's right. And it sure sounds like she's running. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is a Friday evening in Los Angeles, which means there's lots of fun stuff to do out there. It's going to be in the mid-80s in January, so go enjoy yourselves. Look at this. The Lunar New Year night market at the Koreatown Plaza on Western Avenue is going to go on. There's going to be an event there from 3 to 6 during the day, and then there's going to be a night market. There will be Chinese dancing, Korean drum performances, Taekwondo demonstrations, a fashion show. People are going to get the first 500 get $15 vouchers to use at the Plaza's food court. There's a Lunar New Year festival at Monterey Park for their two-day Monterey Park Festival, a street fair that takes over 5 blocks of downtown Monterey Park. Garvey between Garfield and Alhambra with folk art, bites, live entertainment, and a carnival zone. That starts off Saturday morning. Sounds like a ton of fun. And hey, if you're a Dodger fan, it's already that time of year. Dodgers Fair and Fest is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Dodger Stadium. Interactive games, activations, live music, ballpark food. You know, the other 9 months out of the year, you get to have a Dodger dog. You might as well have one in early February, too, although it be the end of January. And what's coming out in the theaters this weekend? Send Help is a Sam Raimi movie starring Rachel McAdams about an employee and her boss getting stranded on a deserted island, and they have to deal with each other. That sounds like my kind of movie. That sounds like a lot of fun. And before we get out of here, on a really, really upsetting note, the news today about Catherine O'Hara passing away is really tough. I'm such a huge fan of her. You want to talk about comedy legend, SCTV, Home Alone, Beetlejuice, The Nightmare Before Christmas, the sitcom that I am such a huge fan of that I can't really say, the Creek one. Although they say it in the news, I don't know how they get away with that. But it is one of my top 5 shows of all time. It is one of our bedtime rewatch shows, and I'm not kidding. We just finished a rewatch of The Creek Show like a week ago. And Catherine O'Hara's performance as Moira Rose, everything she says is funny. Everything she does is funny. The wigs, it's just every aspect of that performance is incredible. And apparently, when Eugene and Dan Levy were pitching the show, they were going to shoot a pilot. They asked Catherine O'Hara to do a pilot just so they could sell the show and then she wouldn't have to do it. But they had so much fun with her that they begged her to do it, and she did. And of course, you know, she goes back with Eugene all the way to the SCTV days. But, you know, there are a few people that I can say I've been a fan of my entire life because I'm 40. So I was 5 when Home Alone came out. So I've been seeing that movie every single year for the past 35 years. So I knew her from that. I knew her from, Nightmare Before Christmas and Beetlejuice growing up. I got to know her in all those Christopher Guest movies, which she was always just wonderful in. She did a guest appearance on Curb that was just insane. She was such a talented actress. And after The Creek Show, her career was exploding again. She was cast in so many different movies. She was in The Last of Us. She was on The Studio, which is this new show on Apple TV Plus that just won a bunch of Emmys. And that's currently in production. It's heartbreaking, but she has left behind such an incredible body of work and things that people will watch forever. I can't ever envision a time where people don't watch Home Alone at Christmas. It's the first movie we watch every single Christmas when we're putting up the tree. She will always be a part of my life, and she'll probably always be a part of yours. If you've never seen the show she did with Eugene and Dan Levy, The Creek Show, it's on Hulu. Watch it. It is one of the funniest sitcoms of all time. Rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara. It's Randy Wang here, and it's the News Blitz. Have a great weekend, everybody.